We are 4 days away from the MLB trade deadline, and there are some crazy names and rumors being thrown out there, so I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a rumor roundup today, right before the deadline happens. I've got my predictions coming out this weekend. There's so much content coming to the channel, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on it. Of course, a big shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. You'll hear more from them later in the video. Let's get going into these rumors, and we have to start with Tarik Skubal. That is the best player available at the deadline. He's one of the best players in baseball, and there is no doubt that he is going to be moved. He just made his last appearance with the Detroit Tigers, coming off the mound, kind of waved goodbye to the fans. A really sad moment if you're a Tigers fan. Honestly, even as a Mets fan, I felt a little bit sad. Someone that they should be able to keep, but they're not going to. And the market for him is going to be super aggressive. I think the Tigers are going to get a really good package back. It seems like the Dodgers are the clear favorites. Jeff Passan has named them as the favorite to land Tarik Skubal at the MLB trade deadline. Bob Nightingale came out and said that Tarik Skubal sees the Dodgers as a best fit on the free agent market. It really seems like Tarik Skubal to the Dodgers is pretty much set in stone. In terms of the teams that would be going after Skubal on the trade market, it really is the Dodgers and the Brewers that seem to be the leading teams right now. They're two of the best farm systems in baseball. They both have exactly what the Tigers would be looking for, and I think are going to be pretty aggressive in what that prospect package back would be, because both of their systems are so loaded that basically no matter who they trade, they're going to be okay. Some other teams have been floated around right now. Obviously, the Braves are very much in Tarik Skubal. The Rays are also very much in, but it doesn't seem like they're willing to give up on Theo Gillen in the trade, which would be something that is deemed necessary to get Tarik Skubal. And also, we've heard that the Phillies have been interested, have been scouting Skubal. Not that you really need to scout him. Skubal's going to be on the move. The Tigers are going to get a lot back. As of right now, it does seem like the Dodgers are the favorites, though. Before we get going into the next rumor, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Use my code HMA when you sign up to get in on this special offer. Play $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. So click the link in the description, download the Prize Picks app, and remember to use my code HMA to get in on this offer. Because Prize Picks is so easy to use, simply pick more or less on a few different players, put them into your lineup, and then see how they do. Or maybe you'd rather pick teams. Prize Picks has that too now. So now you can pick the winner in any game or fight. You can pick the total in any game or fight. You can even pick more or less on the spreads of any game or fight. For my picks today, I went with more than 6.5 fantasy points for Caleb Durbin, more than 6 for Luis Arias, more than 5.5 for Andy Pages, and more than 5 for Dom Canzone. Prize Picks is also available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. And like I said earlier, best of all, use my code HMA when you sign up, play $5, and get $150 in lineups if you win. So click the link in the description to download the Prize Pick app right now and use my code HMA. Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it. Another big name that we have to talk about briefly is going to be Mason Miller. Apparently, he is available from the San Diego Padres, but they've been rattling off some wins, so I don't think that they're as incentivized to sell as they were even last week. If Mason Miller is on the move, it seems like it is going to be for a package that is absolutely insane. AJ Preller, of course, traded one of the best prospects in baseball last year, Leo Dallas DeVries, to go get Mason Miller. He's expecting a package back similar to Juan Soto if Miller's on the move. They want elite prospect talent along with young major league ready players right now. And the teams that are connected to him being the Yankees, the Mariners, Pirates, basically every single contender. I just don't know if this is the moment where they're going to be able to put together a package to go get Mason Miller, as well as the Padres are in a playoff spot right now. Just doesn't seem like he's the likely guy. Instead, expect a guy like Adrian Morejon to be on the move. Talked about him on the channel before. Left-hander reliever, one of the best in the game. Hits free agency at the end of the season. For a Padres team who obviously has a ton of relief depth, really, really good bullpen, it feels like Morejon's the guy more likely to get moved. All the teams that'd be in on Miller, for different reasons, would be in on Morejon. Expect him to get traded. A new name that we're seeing thrown around on the trade market right now is Hunter Greene. I believe it was Ken Rosenthal who said right now it's about 50-50. Hunter Greene could be on the move at the trade deadline, which would be absolutely insane. Hunter Greene, when healthy, is one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. The biggest thing that's been holding him back, again, like I just mentioned, is his health. Gotta make sure he's on the field. And honestly, I don't care what his whip or ERA looks like right now. Like, it's a 7 ERA and a whip at 1.33 in 21 innings. He pitches in a really bad ballpark for a guy who, again, gives up a ton of fly balls. He has one of the most team-friendly contracts in all of baseball right now for what can be an ace in your rotation. Hunter Greene, I think, is due like $31 million, has a team option in 2029 worth $21 million. Every single team in baseball theoretically will be in on Hunter Greene. Of course, the contenders are going to be the most aggressive, not just because he is a game-changing pitcher, he is a frontline starter, but because of that control. And if you're the Cincinnati Reds, you have an opportunity to get a ton back. I don't necessarily love it for the Reds. I think that that they should just sell off their expendable pieces and try and build a more successful team and roster moving forward. But we know that the Cincinnati Reds are cheap. cheap. We know Castellini does not want to spend money, and if they can get a bunch back for Hunter Greene, it seems like there's a chance that he could be on the move. Again, expect the Dodgers, if they don't get Tarik Skubal, to be looking at Hunter Greene. I would expect the Cubs to be interested in him. Basically every team in Major League Baseball that can afford to get Hunter Greene's contract, which is almost everybody. You don't necessarily need to be a contender this year. I just would expect that the contenders would be the most aggressive, because if it's not Tarik Skubal, Hunter Greene is the clear next best available pitcher on the market. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Angels. We saw them make an early deadline move. Logan O'Hoppe and Chase Silseth going to the Rangers for a prospect that's not really on top 30 lists anywhere. Kind of a crazy move by the Angels. Silseth really isn't that bad. O'Hoppe, stinks. Sorry to the O'Hoppe family, but he's been horrible. Change of scenery is desperately needed. It was crazy to me that this trade happened, though, this early for basically nothing. Good move by the Rangers. Now the rumor that's coming out is that Joe Adell and Jorge Soler could be on the move. The Yankees apparently have been very interested in both of those players. They need some outfield depth. I don't think Soler is really more of an outfield play, but Joe Adell would make a ton of sense for the Yankees, especially with all the injuries. The other big names that could be on the move, we know that Zach Neto's been rumored to the Boston Red Sox, which makes a ton of sense. As long as they don't have to give up Franklin Arias, I do think it is a worthwhile discussion. If you can give up some of the young pitchers, maybe even some of the young prospects in the minors in terms of hitting guys, I think they should consider bringing in Zach Neto. He's not a good defensive shortstop by any means, but he pulls fly balls in the air, and at Fenway Park, it feels like he'd be an absolute monster. He's a borderline top 10 shortstop in the game. I love that idea. Reed Detmers has been connected to a bunch of teams. White Sox seem to be a team that are going to be going after him aggressively. The problem is that the White Sox don't want to drop any top 10 players in their farm system, and if you're getting a Detmers, you probably need to move on from one of them, if not two. Jose Soriano is probably not on the move, but never count out the Angels. It's just a conversation of I'll never believe that the Angels are selling until they physically do it. But yeah, the teams that you'd expect, the Red Sox, the Phillies, the Yankees, the White Sox, the Cubs. I'm sure the Rays would take a look at some of these guys. The Angels weirdly have a good group of guys that can be on the move this deadline, but Artie Moreno never says die. And until he makes those moves, they're going to be Angels for the rest of their life. Well, at least until their contract expires. But I do think that this will probably be the best opportunity to move on from Neto. Detmers, Soriano hasn't been pitching well of late, but I just don't know if these guys' value get any higher while they're on the Los Angeles Angels. And that team stinks. They need to restart. But again, sorry, Angels fan, your ownership is the problem. And also sneaky, apparently the Phillies are interested in Neto too, which is not something that I thought was on the radar, but I kind of don't hate it. Go and get more bats. You can always improve. Phillies are definitely going to do crazy stuff this deadline. And then in terms of the last top tier guys to talk about before we get going into some other minor rumors, Hunter Goodman is a name that's been mentioned. Apparently the Rockies want the best prospect from your system. And it makes sense. I think they're totally in their right to ask for that. Catching is at a premium right now. Almost every contender could use a better catcher. And when we're talking about right-handed hitting catchers, even more so. As for Hunter Goodman, he's not a free agent until 2030. I believe next year is his first arbitration eligible year. So the Rockies don't have to move him. And I like that they're asking for big names. From the Red Sox, they said, well, if you're getting Hunter Goodman, we need Franklin Arias. Would I make that trade if I'm the Red Sox? Absolutely not. But I like that the Rockies, at least from a process standpoint, are swinging big here. And then same thing who the Tampa Bay Rays apparently have been checking in on Hunter Goodman. The Rockies wanted Theo Gillen, as they should. The Rays have said no, as they should. I don't think Hunter Goodman ultimately gets moved. Maybe we see an Adley Rutschman get traded. Maybe we see a Francisco Alvarez, guys that are clearly tiers below Hunter Goodman. But the catching market is going to be super, super active this deadline, more so than it has in the past, especially if Ryan Jeffers isn't on the move because the Twins just keep hanging around. Expect to see more catchers move this deadline than we normally see. I just don't think it's going to be Hunter Goodman. It seems like the asking price is just a little bit too high right now for these teams. Let's talk about the Mets. They're one of the clear sellers of the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline. You could go through their roster and name almost 10 players. On the starting pitching side, Clay Holmes is definitely going to be on the move, as well as Freddie Peralta. Those are going to be part of the next tier of pitchers. They're not Tarik Skubal, they're not Hunter Greene, but these are guys who will probably pitch playoff games for whatever team acquires them, and there are a lot of teams that should. You're looking at the Cubs, you're looking at the White Sox, you're looking at the Rays, you're looking at the Braves, maybe even the Phillies if they want to improve and make Aaron Nola be the fifth starter in that rotation. I think the Brewers are going to be interested in these guys. Don't be surprised if the Rangers come calling, or the Astros. Any team that is right now on the fringe, besides the Pirates, I think the Diamondbacks are a great fit for a lot of these guys. They're going to be interested in the starting pitching that the Mets have. I know Freddie Peralta has been literally one of the worst pitchers in baseball this year, but everyone knows that there's a track record of being much better. Maybe he's just got to get out of New York. Maybe this is a Mets problem. And Clay Holmes has been really consistent, just coming back from an injury. Bullpen arms, the Mets have a ton of them too. None of them are particularly sexy outside of Luke Weaver, who's been one of the best setup men in baseball. But because he has a multi-year contract, he is due money next season. It's less likely that he gets moved just because teams don't want to absorb that money. But expect AJ Minter, Brooks Raley, Huascar Brazoban. Those are guys that are definitely going to be on the move. And then on the offensive side, Francisco Alvarez's name, I mentioned it earlier. He could be traded. Maybe Brett Beatty, Luis Robert, Tyrone Taylor, I think are going to be on the move. The Mets are going to be looking to trade basically anybody except Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, and the young players that you know the names of. I think another fun team to talk about as sellers is going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. They have a ton of pieces that fit with what a lot of the contenders could need, especially the Philadelphia Phillies. I think that they're going to make a trade this deadline. Between Dalton Varsho, Jeff Hoffman, Bieber, Gausman, Springer, right there, those 5 players could be some of the 5 best move, especially on the offensive side. Dalton Varsho, phenomenal center fielder with the defense. The bat's been a little sketchy this year, but teams like the Phillies, the Guardians, the Rays, you got to imagine are going to be super interested. George Springer is definitely more of a DH option, but that bat's been good for now a couple weeks. He was incredible last year. You'd probably take a flyer on Springer at this point. On the pitching side, Jeff Hoffman's owed money, but the strikeout stuff looks so good. The underlying's been great. He's definitely going to be someone who the Blue Jays are looking to move off from. And then Kevin Gausman and Bieber, like the Blue Jays are not going to the playoffs this year. It's been a disaster season. Them and the Mets have been 2 of the biggest disappointments. It's probably time to get rid of some of the guys on expiring contracts and look a little bit more to the future, trying to get back to being in good form in 2027. This is not a rebuild, it's a retool. Get rid of the pieces that won't be here. I also briefly want to talk about the Baltimore Orioles as one of the more interesting teams at the deadline. We've been getting more and more about some of the players that were perceived core guys in Baltimore. Jackson Holliday, Colton Cowser, who won Rookie of the Year. Adley Rutschman has been mentioned. I think Trevor Rogers and Taylor Ward should be on the move. I know the Orioles are technically still in the playoff race, but I feel like we've seen enough of this team to know that they're just not that good. I'd be interested to know what the price on a Gunnar Henderson would be right now. I would never move him because I think Gunnar Henderson's great, but you've got him for 2 more full seasons. He's a free agent in 2029. Is this a moment where you could maybe go get Gunnar Henderson if you give them a Juan Soto-like haul? I don't think it's going to be as good. You're not going to get 2 guys that are like some of the best offensive players in baseball like you do with Abrams and Wood and Mackenzie Gore, who's been a good pitcher, and Harlan Susana. Like, there's a lot of names. But could you get like 2 top 50 prospects from an org? Is that what the Brewers try to do to fix their shortstop problem? Not that Cooper Pratt's a problem, but man, if you could get a Gunnar Henderson, I'm really intrigued to see what's going to go on there in Baltimore, just because there's a lot of just not good going on there. That core has been incredibly disappointing. Maybe it's time to take a look in the mirror and see what the problems are and try and fix them sooner than later, because it's just not working. Jackson Holliday is a name that I would also keep an eye out for too. I think he could be on the move. I wouldn't do it, but I don't blame the Orioles right now. In terms of teams that I expect to be the most aggressive this deadline, I think the Rays are going to be absolutely going for it. I also think the Red Sox are going to be super aggressive. I'm interested to see what goes on in the American League Central and West. It feels like a lot of sitting on hands, seeing if any dominoes fall. And then in the National League, I think the Phillies are going to do the Dave Dombrowski thing where they go out and get some crazy pieces, gut the farm system, try and win a World Series this year. Dodgers and the Brewers seem to be the other 2 teams I expect to be super active. And the Braves desperately need starting pitching. They can't keep running it out there and wasting this Chris Sale performance like Grant Holmes, Reynaldo Lopez, Martin Perez. These can't be your arms. Trying to think if there's any surprise players I want to mention as possible trade candidates. Ooh, Otto Lopez is his name. The Marlins have been competing again and putting themselves in a situation where they're on the wild card bubble right now, but it's an organization that will take advantage of value more so than seeing that they could make the playoffs this year. Let's live on a dream. I mean, it's not really a dream, but you understand what I'm saying here. Maybe Otto Lopez is on the move. Maybe Xavier Edwards. There's a lot of questions that remain unanswered right now because of the expanded playoffs. Every team except the Mets seems to have a chance at making it, which makes it a bizarre market. But a lot of big names are going to be on the move. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you buy any of these rumors? Where do you think guys like Skubal, Zach Neto, where do you think they could all go? Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, as well as subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you all trade deadline long. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you on the next one. Peace out.